I've had a very fulfilling life. I've had 3 different careers at the highest level. And I can honestly tell you, as much as I had something to do with it, but I'm just been blessed. And I just work hard and put it to use.
Nowadays, it's so much easier to want to replicate somebody else's work versus really looking inward and finding your own inspiration and kind of creating your own story.
The only thing you can compare the music world and the NBA world is everybody's got a shelf life. You've got a shelf life of 10, 15 years. There is no thing called a sprint. You can sell it on Instagram, social media, or whatever you want. Oh, I want this and I want it now. You're not gonna get it. The universe doesn't work like this. You have to bust your ass. You gotta put in your 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
You gotta eat plenty of shit along the way. And then the universe tells you, okay, I think you're ready now.
Is there anything that you miss about, playing in the NBA? All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of TSL Time podcast. Today we're here with Rony Seikaly. How are we?
We are doing very well, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
How's everything going, 2025?
Everything is starting off amazing, healthy, happy, peaceful. That's balanced.
Releasing music?
Making music, releasing music, playing music. And then, of course, I need to balance that with sports and business. So
a lot of things going on at the same time.
Yeah, but that's how I've always been accustomed to kind of running my life with many parts, and one feeds the other, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I was telling you before, when I actually found out about your music before I knew you were a professional basketball player. I don't know how many people relate to that. I mean, more people, maybe here in the U.S., more people know you for playing, on the Miami Heat and being an NBA player, and maybe across Europe, more music or vice versa. But like I was telling you, in 2019, my love for dance music really began to peak. And I heard those 3 songs that he'd released at the time: Flux, Practice, Groovin'. And then I saw that documentary of yours. Who developed that or produced that documentary? Because that was amazing.
I think it's called 360. They do documentary series on predominantly NBA players.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when I saw it, I got to know about your whole story, and I was like, holy shit! Like how most people think you got to take one career path and stick to it, and you can't make a hard pivot. But you left the country when it was in a lot of distress, and then played professional sports, and then got into real estate business, and then now you're playing, on some of the best nightclubs in the world and making amazing music. Tell us a little bit about this whole journey.
So a lot of people, when I sit down for an interview, they tell us a little bit of about you, right? So the problem is that I've had 4 lives, and it depends which life you are interested in, and I can tell you the story, but I kind of grouped it into growing up in a war, in a civil war, and leaving at 9 or 10 years old, getting away from the civil war, and then my world opened up. So from there, I got to see the 3 rooms. I'm going to categorize it for you in 3 different rooms. The one room is the locker room. The other room is the boardroom, which is the business side of things. And the third one is the green room, which belongs to the music. So I always ask people which one interests you the most, and we can kind of go down that path. And I think that it's very important for your listeners to know that in order to get to any of these rooms, they're completely different. But it takes just as much perseverance, dedication, hard work to get into those rooms. So it's not like just because you get into one room, you kind of get an access to the other one. It's not, actually it's opposite, because when people see you, people have known me as a basketball player. To kind of break into the music world was very, very hard, right? Because everybody wants to coin you as that basketball player that, what can he know about music, right? So to enter that room is very, very hard. You're getting a lot of resistance And persistence always beats resistance. And I just never gave up. I just kept going after it because I knew I had something different. I wasn't a DJ that was doing this for, if anything, I just didn't want to play publicly. I was just doing this purely privately and stuff like that. Um, so I've had a very fulfilling life. I've had 3 different careers at the highest level. And I can honestly tell you, as much as I had something to do with it, but I'm just been blessed. And I've been blessed to be given all this talent. And I just worked hard and put it to use.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we're definitely gonna have to dive in a little bit into each one of those rooms you mentioned, because I mean, I just find it's like you said, it requires a lot of persistence and hard work to be able to just like experience what it's like to be at the top level in different industries, whether it's sports, entertainment, business. So yeah, let's go back into, you know, earlier days. I read that you were spinning vinyls at like 14.
Yes.
Were you already playing ball and have a passion for basketball at that time?
I've always had music was always kind of in our household. My parents would always play music on Sundays. It's classical music, and then you know, in the cars it'll be more like kind of Barry White or a little bit more of that kind of soulful R&B, old school, which morphed into kind of disco and stuff like that. So I was always surrounded by music. My dad loved music, and I always gravitated towards music when I was young, right? So I turned my parents' garage in Greece into a nightclub. I was 13, 14 years old. And that's exactly around the same time that I started playing basketball. So I went to high school in Athens, Greece. So we would play other American schools from other cities in Europe, like London, Paris, whatever it is. They all have an American school. And we would play against each other. And at 14, 15 years old, there was no place to take these players because you have to host them. So I said, what a perfect opportunity for me to invite all those different players that are coming in from these cities and throw parties at home for all these guys and charge a minimal fee, like $1 or whatever it was back then, so I can just upgrade the system.
Just 13, 14 years old.
This 13, 14 years old.
So immediately just the entrepreneurship, bringing the athletes together.
Correct.
And partying.
Yes. So it started at a very young age, and fast forward 40 years or whatever it is, and I'm still doing the same thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was meant to be.
It's meant to be.
How were some of those parties? Your parents must have been pretty chill.
My parents were actually not only chill, but they were kind of proud. You know, like they would bring their friends down to the club room because they didn't, you know, I had to like slowly pay for the equipment, and slowly, like I had just, you know, I painted the place. We used foil paper instead of mirrors because I couldn't afford mirrors. So it was just foil papers, and I would buy secondhand equipment. I had 2 Techniques turntables, a mixer, I had some strobe lights, the whole thing. And then and as we progressed and started kind of hunkering in on the basketball side of things, and that got pretty serious pretty quick, actually. I got recruited to play in one of the best basketball teams in Athens that is at a professional league, right? I was super green. I had no idea. Like this was like, you know, you're getting thrown right to the wolves, right? And I saw that what I was doing in high school was not necessarily up to par against these guys. So I just took it all upon myself that I wanted to be as good as these guys. I want to be able to play with those guys. And that's where that journey started. And then when I had to prove myself in order to get to college, I went to Syracuse and that whole story. And in order to get to to college is it's, again, I was one of the first internationally born players to come to this American system that's an inner city sport, right? So all your teammates are from the inner city. They have no fucking idea where you're from. I tell them I was born in Lebanon. They look at me like, what?
Where the hell is that?
Where's that? So, it's not like Instagram today where people can, you got more of a view of what's going on in the world. This is back then. So at the end, I was just telling people, I just come from overseas. I'm just not American. I'm from overseas. Doesn't matter what sea it is. It's just from over there.
Yeah,
right?
overseas. Keep the conversation simple.
And throughout that journey of basketball, I also kept the sound system in the house, and I would always play music for my friends, and I would always host people and play music for them. And so it kind of went side by side. And then as we got to the NBA, and I was afforded to build homes and stuff like that, I would always build a club in my house, kind of what I did back then in my parents' garage. So, and that's exactly what I've done for the last 25, 30 years of building homes. I always build myself a club in that home, and I always invite people over, and I would play music for them. And then at some point, one of the best DJs at the time, his name was Eric Murillo. He's kind of like, he's a legend in my eyes. He was an incredible DJ, producer, vibe maker, everything about him. He was the sexiest thing in the music world, right? And he came over to the house one day and he says to me, "What CD are you playing? Whose music is that?" I was like, it's me. I'm playing, I'm DJing. He's like, "I don't believe you." So he came into the DJ booth, this is at home, and he saw me mixing and playing music. And he said to me, "Why aren't you playing out?" I said, "Because I just finished an NBA career, and the last thing I want to be is judged for kind of jumping into this. It's been a long career in the NBA of being judged, in every move you do, right?" So he said to me, I think you need to play out. I think people need to hear your sound. It's a different sound. Nobody plays like this, and I think it's an opportunity for you to bring something new to the table." And that's how that started.
Wow. That's a really great way to summarize it.
Yeah.
And do you think the criticism, overall, being in both worlds, because I've spoken to a few other athletes, and like the criticism that athletes face when you're on the court, off the court, the betting, the odds, the people putting money behind you, the statistics, do you think it's as intense in the world of music as well, with, everything, how competitive it's become now with social media and everything?
The only thing you can compare the music world and the NBA world or the entertainment world is everybody's got a shelf life. You've got a shelf life of 10, 15 years. And then you've got those kind of outliers like a LeBron James or a Carl Cox, or somebody who kind of breaks through those 10, 15 years and now is playing a lot longer, right? But in this world, it's 10, 15 years and you're out. So there's a lot of things that go in your mind, there's a lot of things like, okay, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? That's if you're kind of true to yourself and understand that there will be next. You cannot sustain this. You're not working at a bank. You're not working at anywhere else. So the criticism that you get in basketball is on television, millions of people seeing it, and it is hard sometimes, most of the times, because you're basically as good as your last game if you're not if not your last shot. So it doesn't matter what you did last game, it's what you do this game, right? And that's the perpetual thing about playing sports, is that, you set the bar high and now everybody expects you to be at that level. And that's why Michael Jordan's Michael Jordan, because he went to that level and maintained it throughout. In DJing, you're basically playing music for people, and music is so subjective, right? It's not like sports where you win or you lose. Music is subjective. Some people may like it and some people may not. And you can't take that in any way. Like, you know, so it's to me, when I play in front of a crowd, a music crowd, I know that 50% of that crowd may not like the music that I'm playing, but I'm okay with it because I'm pleasing the other half, right? In basketball, you better be pleasing every single guy that's sitting in the seats, including the television audience and everybody else that's put bets on the games and everybody, you know, just a whole different level of pressure.
Yeah.
So, and it's, and pressure, it's how you kind of, how you let it affect you, right? So, to me, pressure never affected me. People, you know, it gives me the, of course you get butterflies and stuff like that, but I never kind of felt the pressure of, you know, that's what makes, actually, you know, I played with some amazing players that will kick your ass in practice, but then you put them in a game and they just kind of shrivel up, right? Because they just couldn't take the pressure. So to me, I never had that. I just always looked at it as a challenge. So first time I played at Space, first time I played Circoloco, I was like, how do you feel? How do you feel? Are you worried? Are you scared? I was like, no, this is an opportunity for me to prove myself. Like I flip it around somehow and use it to my advantage.
So you would say the pressure of being on the court with Michael Jordan is much higher than being in front of a crowd of a few thousand people at a super club.
You can't even compare.
Can't even compare.
It's two different kinds of pressure.
Yeah.
One pressure is millions of people, and the other pressure is a few thousand people.
Yeah, 100%.
With a bunch of reporters on the sideline that's going out to all the newspapers the next day, and God knows what they're going to write about you.
Yeah. What you mentioned before is actually something I've heard some other very successful artists mention too, is that, you know, you have to be okay with not everyone liking, you know, what you put out there, whether it's like sometimes when I make a video or something, it's like understanding that if you expect to please everyone, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that's something pretty hard to grasp though. And
well, in the music industry, in artistry, if you're not being true to yourself, like everybody is a DJ today. Everybody wants to be a DJ. And it's so easy to be a DJ because you go listen to a few people play, you Shazam their music, and now you've got a library of a couple of hours and you think you're a DJ. That's how it is today. But what separates you from being a regular DJ is what's your style? What's the story you're trying to tell these people? Whether they like the story or they don't like the story, at least you've got a story to tell. When you're just another DJ, you're just kind of a jukebox. It's kind of playing, you know, what everybody is playing everywhere, and you're kind of putting it together and you think you're killing it, right? But the respect is always what makes a difference. When you have respect from your peers, when you have respect from the players, and opposing players in your locker room, when they respect you because they see how you work and how hard you do what you do, right? It's the same thing in music. Just because I don't like your music, just because I may not like your music, I will still respect you because at least you're putting it out there. You're taking a chance. You're trying to be different. Everybody else is taken. What are you gonna? Oh, I'm maybe a new version of Marco Carolla. I'm gonna be in a new version of Jamie Jones. Those guys are taken already. Like you know, if you want to carve a niche for yourself, you really have to take chances and tell a story that resonates with who you are and what you want to say.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like nowadays it's so much easier to want to replicate somebody else's work versus really looking inward and finding your own inspiration and kind of creating your own story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least from when I was with Seth and stuff and touring and just getting to see some really good artists and DJs, you could really tell like the music selection was just pristine. Like half the time I wouldn't recognize some of the songs and I would just be like, wow, like you really felt like that story, whether it's in their own songs or what they would be picking. Do you think social media though is what's caused that so much? Because I mean, just from even when I was in college now, everyone wants to be a DJ, you know? And I think it's because they only get to see one side of that life.
Correct.
The DJ booth, the partying, the girls.
Yes.
But they don't see the studio hours.
No. And this is the whole thing with social media. It makes things look easy. All these sleepless nights and hard work and learning how to make music and putting it out there and getting frustrated and playing it and it doesn't work, and you come back and you retool and you try to do a million things in order to advance. And then finally, after 5 years of eating shit, you're on Instagram and everybody's dancing around you and they're like, oh, I can do that. Well, go ahead. You got to put in the work. There is no free ride. Once in a while, everybody once in a while you can win the lottery, right? One lucky guy doesn't have to do shit and ends up winning the lottery and he's kind of set. It's the same thing as a DJ. Once in a while you get an outlier that the media decides, oh, this is a good person that kind of has a style or something. But in order to make it, you have to be different. You have to give something that is not out there. So all these DJs that are in this fad DJ world today, that won't last because music is like fashion. It moves forward. It continuously moves forward. And if you're sitting there trying to be kind in music when that music moves forward, you're going to be in trouble. And then what are you going to do? You're going to start going out and Shazamming what people are playing today. And then by the time you get that thing, that music is out. Yeah.
It's super interesting to see the trends in music, and I mean, especially in like electronic music, because I've been telling, like, I mean, I've just been in conversations. I think it's the fastest growing genre of music in the world. Like, I have friends who tell me, rap is kind of dying down nowadays. Everybody's listening to dance music. The festivals are getting bigger. More people are listening to all the different dance music that's being made. And, it seems to be like the Afro house has been kind of one of those subgenres that fucking people are going crazy for right now,
Yes, because it's what Afro House has done is taking it to the mainstream. So now people that didn't know house music and
Afro House has been around forever.
What's that?
Afro House has been around for
it's been a lot of these genres have been around, just like fashion, like people are copying fashion from the 70s, from the 80s. It just gets, it keeps coming back. Everybody's got a shelf life in the entertainment world. You got 10, 15, 20 years to kind of milk it and move on. And then if your stuff is really good, then they'll continue listening to it many years after, but, and then maybe remix it and replay it 20 years later where it becomes a classic that's been remixed, So that's how it works, man. You just have to continue thinking forward.
You want to catch the trends before they come.
I don't try. If I hear a track that's being played, I will not play that track again. I grew up in this underground world where the whole object of the DJ was to play music that you never heard.
Yeah.
That's why I would go to these clubs, because I don't want to hear music that I already know. I want to hear music that I never heard and I didn't think I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And now I want to hear it.
It's like an omakase at a sushi restaurant. That's what I tell. That's the analogy I use sometimes. You don't know what the chef's going to give you, but you just hope that it's going to be some good shit.
Exactly.
How was it back in the day, kind of rewinding to your earlier days of spinning vinyl and having those the club parties in your house? How would you go about finding some of the tunes you wanted to share with the other athletes coming into Athens?
No. Oh, well, there's two, like in Europe, when I was growing up in Europe, house music was kind of what was playing. Like you go to a club and house music was kind of the genre of what people played. Disco that morphed into house. So we were in that world. When I moved to the US and I was trying to play that kind of housey music, the guys on the team were like, please turn that shit off. Like, I don't want to hear that shit, that European shit.
Put on some lyrics, put on some,
and the crazy thing is that
the elevator
whole
music.
European shit started in Chicago and Detroit. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
started here.
Yeah.
And then it kind of went to England and Germany, and then it came back here again. But in its essence, house music started in Chicago, and techno music started in Detroit.
And were you during the 90s, right? Right before, because you left the NBA in late 90s, right?
I left in 2000, yeah,
2000.
99, 2000.
So like kind of like that golden era of the NBA people talk about. How was the partying then? Were you still getting out? And
it was
that was right before the phones.
well, it was before the phones, and
A little bit before the phones, yeah.
well, definitely, you either get a cell phone or your home phone, but you're not getting a phone with a camera.
Yeah,
Right?
iPhone was
This-
2006.
Yeah, exactly. So parties were a lot more intimate. People are actually talking to each other. People are actually dancing and having fun. Now everybody's on their phone. Like you go out with your friends, you go to dinner and they're on their phone. I've made a rule. If you're going to be in the DJ booth and you actually want to come out and you want to be in the DJ booth, I don't want you next to me on the phone texting or having a conversation while I'm playing, because that kind of breaks a little bit of my flow, right?
Even the energy in the
Yeah,
air,
my
too.
energy, because if you want to be with that person you're texting, just go there. And if you want to be here, then have fun like we used to, where you're dancing and enjoying the music and actually listening to it. And, it's a different world, and we've adapted. And there's still some good clubs that don't allow cameras, and you can actually go and have fun and be on a dance floor, and everybody's vibing together like they used to. But it's pretty rare.
Yeah. I have a friend who we did a podcast a few months ago during Music Week, Rossi. I'm not sure if you know Rossi, but he's talked about this idea he's building where it's like in the DJ booth, there's this infrared light that they're putting behind the booth. And so the DJ can turn on that light. And if anyone tries to record, it just says no recording on your phone in the crowd.
That's amazing.
I was like, dude, this is a great fucking idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It's kind of like when you can't screenshot the messages that you get that disappear, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. I wish there was like a something that catches these flashes and these cameras, because honestly, it just I've put myself in that other side, and I'm on the dance floor, and this DJ is killing it, playing well, and I just can't. I always went out to listen to the music, right? So now if I'm taking my phone out and I'm just putting it on the DJ, just so I can post it on Instagram, so people think like, oh, I'm so cool, and this is my footage of the night, I have completely lost the purpose of me being there.
Yeah.
Right? So I still don't understand. And then besides that one post that goes to social media, you're never going to go back and look at all these different videos you've taken of all these different DJs and say, oh my God, I want to rewatch all these.
Yeah.
It's like all these, it's like all the sunsets that you take a video of, and then you got a whole bunch of sunsets on your phone.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. I wish the culture can go back to what its essence is where it's togetherness, vibe, music, happy. That's what kind of like the vibe used to be.
Yeah, and I think it is slowly going to start heading more back to that essence, because it's so blatantly obvious how disconnected people are in that type of setting. It's like ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, are you really enjoying the music? Even myself, I've completely stopped. I mean, I used to take videos, first started going on stuff, look back at them the next day. But like now, if I'm at a party, maybe I'll take one video just to maybe look back at it. If there's a song I really love that I hear, send it to a friend, be like, yo, wish you were here, whatever. But that presence of being, there and fully listening to the story being told, it's just different.
It's an immersive experience.
Yeah.
When you close your eyes on the dance floor and the guy's playing amazing music and you're just kind of dancing and enjoying yourself and not thinking about Mo, maybe I should post this tomorrow. Like, let go of the posting, let
Yeah.
go of all this stuff, let go of social media, and immerse yourself into that music and into the world, and you'll get a lot more. You'll get a lot more out of it if you actually stop and listen to the music.
Absolutely. I want to go into a little bit of that, that period, towards the end of your NBA career. Did you have that voice in your head already starting to speak to you, telling you, before you had that conversation with Eric and he told you, why aren't you playing around the world and doing this? Did you had already begun hearing that voice saying like, I want to do it again. I want to go all in on the music. How was that period? Like, how did that really shape?
I would, again, it was in a club that I built in my house.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the extent of that journey. Like playing music for my friends and having parties and playing music and getting some of my juices flowing just by playing the music and making everybody else happy, right? And not in a million years did I ever think that this was going to become a career. I just didn't, if you told me you're going to be a DJ when you stop, I would be, you're crazy. There's absolutely no reason I want to be a DJ. Like, for what? To get criticized and to get, for what? What's the purpose of it? And then, once I started, it just became, it became another job. And this is why I think now people don't understand how much you have to be stable in your life. If you want this life, you got to understand that, you got to be in airports, flights, delays, weather, cancellations, money, shitty systems, shitty people, shitty this, people only see what is amazing. But in between all these amazing things, there's a lot of stuff that you got to put up with. And how much do you want to put up with it? Because what happens is when you travel, the best part of the whole thing is when you get to play for 2 hours, right?
It makes up for all that.
So it makes up for all of that. It makes up for all of that. And that's why we do it.
Right.
Is to get on to get those 2 hours to deliver a message or a story or something to the fans or to the people that are coming to listen to you or to dance. And you get everybody going, everybody's dancing, having a great time, and the lights come on, music is off. So you go from being that high to lights are on, music is off, everybody out, security's chasing everybody out, and you're like trying to, collect your stuff, and you're back in that car heading to a hotel, and you're by yourself. So there's a lonely aspect of DJing that people don't understand. And that loneliness is what gets you. And this is where you start drinking and you start partying by yourself because your adrenaline's going. You just had the club with a couple of thousand people going, and now it's done. Or you can go to after parties. You can do whatever you want. But at some point, when you're traveling to all these different cities, it becomes lonely. And how much of that loneliness can you withstand? And that's why I have so much respect for the guys that have been doing it, and like Seth, and they just keep doing it and pounding it. But for them, it's a business, and just like I had to do it when I was in the NBA. So to me, sometimes I wake up in different cities, and I said to myself, you know what? When I was playing basketball, I promised myself that I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to wake up and not know what city I'm in, and.
Literally.
Yeah, this is my NBA. Because I had no idea. I was stepping right back into the same thing, right? So now I think to myself, and this is why I don't take on too many gigs. I play where I want to play, and I'm fortunate that I can do that. But I've also built myself to a point through hard work and perseverance and learning and being around people to afford that luxury of choosing when and where I want to play. And so yes, when you look at the DJing, the fun part, but anybody can be a DJ for an hour, for 2 hours, for a year, for 2 years. But what is that? Where do you carve a name for yourself, or how do you, it's longevity, it's consistency, it's showing up, it's being professional, and that's what separates you from everybody else.
Yeah, I feel like that's something I try to remind myself so much with any project that I'm working on. It's like social media has, someone said this, it's like social media has made everyone want to be a sprinter nowadays. Nobody wants to do the marathon or play the long game.
Yeah.
You want to get that hit of instant gratification quickly. You want to just try that project just to see if you can accomplish it quickly. And I think that's something it's really important to remember. It's like,
absolutely.
If you're going to do something, do it because you want to do it to the best, and
I mean, I can speak for myself because I've been to the top of these 3 different places. And I can promise you that if there is no thing called the sprint, you can sell it on Instagram, social media, or whatever you want. Oh, I want this and I want it now. You're not going to get it. The universe doesn't work like this. You have to bust your ass. You got to put in your 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
You got to eat plenty of shit along the way. And then the universe tells you, okay, I think you're ready now. And that's when you've already had a few adversities. And did you get back up on your feet and try again? Did you learn from the mistakes? Did you fail enough times to learn how to win? That's when the universe awards you of having a career. So whoever thinks there's a sprint,
no sprint.
Yeah, good luck. It's like saying I'm going into the marathon, I'm sprinting it. Okay.
You're fucked by third mile.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, so it's a process. Life is a process. Career is a process. Winning is a process. Winning is all about failing. People don't understand that. Like, a lot of people are scared to do things because they don't want to fail. Well, if you don't fail, you don't learn. And that's the essence of what makes you a winner, is by persevering, by not accepting failure, by pushing yourself way more than you ever thought you could in order to get to the finish line.
Yeah. Love to hear that. I've told myself a lot more. It's just like anytime you fuck up or think you failed something, it's more of like, what did I learn from it?
That's exactly.
What do we take from this in order to do it better next time?
That's right. I think that anytime things are not going well for me, I never blame anybody for anything. I just say to myself, what is the universe trying to teach me here? Is it teaching me to slow down? Is it teaching me to, I always try to reference where I'm at, what I'm trying to do with what's right and what's wrong. So that kind of gives me the balance that I need. And I think in anything, in this whole conversation, I can tell you is that balance is the most important aspect of life. Because I've been a professional athlete, I've been a professional DJ, and I've been a professional businessman. And you can burn out pretty quickly doing one thing. And I've done all 3. And the balance to that is sports, being healthy, doing all the things to counterbalance that. Because a lot of people are on one side of the spectrum or just chill and don't want to do anything on the other side of the spectrum. But the winning formula is always somewhere in the middle.
What did you find was maybe a strategy used to kind of avoid that burnout mark? Because I feel like when you're at the best level of any of the things that you're doing, sometimes you're cruising along that line, right? Because you have to push it.
Yes, I think that And how am I going to put this to you? I think the best way to explain it to you is if you're a basketball player that's been dreaming about playing in the NBA, and you started out as a ball boy, and you're now in college as a walk-on, and basketball is your life, right? And then you break through and you make it into the NBA, and your whole life is that ball, the score, the games. You become consumed with it, right? That player, when he retires, will end up either being a coach, assistant coach, a commentator. He can't let go of that locker room, camaraderie, players, the smell of the gym. It's innate. So they don't burn out unless they become head coaches, and there's a lot of pressure on them, and there's pressure to win every single year. Then yes, you can burn out. But if you keep the balance of all of this, if you keep the balance of it, I think you have a better chance of not burning out. Like I can tell you from my own personal experience, had I decided to go ahead and play all these different gigs that I was being offered, I would have burnt out. I know it because I've given it a try a few times. I said, okay, you know what? Let me open it up on that weekend. I'm going to play 4 different cities on 4 different nights. And for me and who I am and what I've done, I went back home and said, I do not want this, because this is a recipe for burnout.
Even though you could do it.
Even though
and you've done it, even
yes.
traveling sports.
But
and everything.
that's how you burn out, is by overdoing something and not getting the balance on the other side. Right. So you always have to keep that balance. And anytime you feel like you're getting pushed into that, take time off, get out of there, and go completely to the other side, so you can just have a minute to think, have a minute to digest, and then slowly that love and that passion for it comes back and pulls you back into the middle, and then you're kind of doing it a little bit. And then if you just dive right back into it, you're going to get burnt out.
Yeah. Kind of like restabilize.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, being a pro athlete, definitely health and your physical fitness was a cornerstone of your whole life. Now that you have a residency at Circoloco, DC-10 this summer, doing 9 shows, I think I saw. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Are you going to be there in September for one, or is it more June, July? Oh, you are?
I'm going to be there June, July, first week in August, mid-September, mid-October.
Oh, awesome. We'll be in September.
Yeah.
So how are you incorporating, what does your fitness or just health routine look like nowadays? Has it changed much?
It hasn't changed for me because I love sports. I don't play sports because it made me money. I don't play sports because God gifted me with height and size and whatever. I play sports because I can't live without sports. It gives me the endorphins that I need in order to kind of survive and push through everything. Like sports is my oxygen, right? And this is not something this is something that's innate. So to me, if I take a vacation, I used to always tell my ex-wife, and I would tell her, if we're going on vacation, just make sure there is sports. I need to chase a ball, golf, tennis, paddle, snow skiing, whatever it is. I need to be active. I cannot just go and chill on a beach. And that's my balance, is getting the endorphins from sports. That's what keeps me alive.
Outdoor activities are the best. That high you get from any of the sports is fantastic. You play a lot of paddle?
I play every day.
Really?
Every day.
That's what you're playing the most right now?
I would say that this has become an obsession, and I'm not going to stop till I figure this game out. And it's like any other game. It's a lot of technique and matter of time until you figure out the footwork and the technique and all of that. And then, but I'm not going to give up till I figure it out.
Yeah, it's a crafty sport.
Yeah.
I mean, I played tennis competitively growing up, and knowing how to use the wall in the back, the side wall, even with the serves and the volleying and going up and down. It's a great sport. It's fast paced too. Like that one really gets the endorphins going.
Yeah, I used to play squash when I was a few years back when there used to be squash courts, and I really loved squash. Playing off the walls and stuff like that. And I also played racquetball, and I also played tennis. I was obsessed with tennis, and I played tennis a lot. And I feel like paddle is a combination of all those three.
Yeah.
Like if you know how to play one, doesn't necessarily translate that you can play paddle, because there's a lot of wrist in squash and there's no wrist in paddle. So you got to kind of reverse. In tennis, you got to kind of have a big take back, and paddle, everything is close to the body. It's kind of the same sport in the sense that you're holding a racket and the ball, but everything is different about it.
You must have had a strong serve in tennis.
I did. I did.
That's the one thing. When I played tennis, I was like, damn, I wish I was like a little bit taller so I could just get over the net a bit easier. How old were you when you got to 6 feet tall?
I'll tell you a funny story about my tennis. So I had a tennis court in my house in Miami, and when the Key Biscayne tennis tournaments used to come out, it used to be called the Lipton something.
Sonny Erickson? That's a different one.
The tennis tournament. It used to be called the Lipton back then, right? Yeah, and it was in Key Biscayne.
Yeah, but they still have the courts there.
Yeah. So anyway, the story is that I had the same surface as the courts there. So Brad Gilbert, who's a friend of mine, was coaching Andre Agassi. So they would come to the house and practice. And I told Andre, who's probably one of the best service return guys ever, that I can ace him if he gives me 10 tries. And I was convinced that I had to get just one lucky crazy serve in, and I can ace him. And he took on the bet, and I went as hard as you can possibly go. And at one point, when you actually hit the ball and you feel, okay, this is a good one, like that this is solid. This is not returnable.
Down the line winner.
Yes. And no. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
In my mind, in slow motion,
yeah.
I thought, got him. And the ball was right back to me like it was a ball that was going 20 miles an hour. Like he saw the ball coming without even like thinking about it. He hit it back like that. So that's when I found out about levels. Like what you think you're good at, when you compare it to somebody else who's a professional at that, no, you got no chance. And that's when I learned to humble myself in my tennis game, that I thought that I had the biggest serve in the world, and he returned it like it was a little kid serving.
Yeah, even when you're really, really good at something or think you're really good at a certain sport or physical activity, there's always someone out there who might be, who's just gross at it, really good, even not like at a professional level.
Yes, absolutely.
'Cause I'm sure there's tons of, or maybe I don't know, but like local community basketball players in certain areas that are just disgusting, or maybe like NBA worthy even, but nobody really knows who they are.
Well, I mean, listen, because also don't forget that I've had so many teammates that were so talented, so gifted, can kick everybody's ass on the team. But when you get to that level, it's not about how good you are physically or how strong you are physically. It's all up here. 90% of the stuff is up here. You've passed the physical stuff. You've passed the strength and conditioning and all of that to get to this point. Now you're at that point And you got another guy at that point, and a whole bunch of guys at that point, and then that's when this comes in. How strong is your mind? Some people can't. And that's why I become legends of the playground or legends of whatever it is, because they just can't get there mentally.
Yeah.
You know, they forget plays. They can't do this. They can't, you know, when you're tired and the coach is out on writing a play for you with 3 minutes left in the game or 2 minutes or whatever it is, and everybody's huffing and puffing and you're drawing and the coach is drawing out a play and you leave the huddle and you're not sure where to go, it's because you're not mentally strong enough to withstand the punishment of the physical aspect of the game and the pressure and the fans and everything else that comes with it.
Yeah. I just started playing golf, talking about mental side of sports 4 months ago. And it's...
You got a nice swing for 4 months.
Thank
I'll watch you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm working on it like crazy.
Yeah.
I'm working on it a lot.
I see you're like trying to finish beautifully every time.
Yeah.
I don't know where the ball's going, but the finish is beautiful.
Sometimes it's hitting the fairway. Most of the times it's not. But yeah, I think that's one of the things, you know, played tennis, single person sport, but even in a team sport, I play lacrosse, like the mental side of it is huge. Especially when like faced with adversity in a match, like if you're up in a set by a few games and then suddenly the opponent 1 game, 2 game, 3 game starts catching up and like the momentum completely shifts. Mm-hmm. It all comes down to forgetting about the previous point and playing it like it's 0-0. And I remember there was times where, you know, I'd be playing tennis and there was one set, I think, when I was in school. I was up 5-0 and I lost the set. And I look at my parents and I'm like, just in disbelief.
Yeah.
I was destroying him the whole set, but it was something in my mind just decided to turn off, and it was all there. It was all in the head, you know.
When you're in the zone, the exact opposite happens.
It's like a flow state.
It's not a flow state. It's how you perceive it. How do you let your nervous system feel? And when you're worried or scared or not playing well, and your nervous system is listening to you, yelling at yourself and telling yourself, you idiot, and whatever, all your nervous system is getting more nervous, right? It's just kind of like, I don't know, something happens where all of a sudden the rim or, you know, or whatever sport you're playing, everything becomes magnified. Like you're at this point, you're not trying to even make the ball, you're just trying to hit the rim. Like this is how messed up you become mentally. And then when you're flowing and you're in the zone, and that happens once in a while, where the rim is the size of a swimming pool, and there's absolutely nothing that can go wrong, because it's just, everything is easy and it flows, and you wish that was the reason why. But when you start making shots, your confidence kind of lets go of this panic mode, and when you start thinking about it and getting your nervous system involved, it's just that one little squeeze, that little one tight muscle that's in there that's not free flowing, that can make a difference.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
So if you're on the golf course and you've had 3 bad holes in a row, and now you got a par 3 and there's water there, and you've just hit 3 bad holes in a row, the first thing you think about is like, there's water. Right? But if you play 3 great holes, you're stepping onto that and looking at the water and saying, let's see now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a different kind of energy to it.
Is there anything that you miss about, you know, playing in the NBA, or that competitiveness of being on the court?
Honestly, nothing. I think that I gave it everything I had. And once that was over, I just wanted to try different things and have a love affair with a few other things. I just didn't want to kind of become a basketball junkie that just sits there and goes through the memories And it wasn't in my fabric. I just had so many things that I wanted to do. So actually, I look back now and have no clue how the hell I did it.
Really?
Yeah, I have no idea. The amount of pressure, the amount of training, the amount of shit that you got to go through to make it to that level. I look at it now and say, how the hell did I play in front of 60,000 people for the NCAA finals? How did I play in all these games against all these players? Like, where was my head at? And it's amazing that I didn't even think about anything. Now that I've stepped away from it, I look back and say, fuck, man, that's a hard ass journey. And there's nothing. I mean, of course, I miss the players. I miss the locker room. I miss the camaraderie. I miss having fun in that aspect, but I don't miss playing the game at that level.
Yeah, it's probably so much tunnel vision. Just like with everything you're doing, it's just practice to the game, to the the locker room, to watching the film, and because the goal is you want to win.
Yes. Well, don't forget also one aspect of basketball people don't understand. It's a team sport, but you've got 5, 6 players, 7 players on the bench that want to take your position. They want to get the money that you're making. They want to get some of your money. And so sometimes practices are just as tough as games. And because that's their job. They want to try to get there. So it's a constant fight for your life. And it's a constant fight to stay in that room. Taking it back to the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a constant fight. Once you make it into that room, it's a fight to stay in that room. Because everybody wants to come into that room. And the weakest one is out.
Yeah. I saw a clip of you blocking the shit out of Michael Jordan. That was pretty crazy. How'd that feel? Just boom.
Listen, I can tell you, it felt amazing.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. But I've gotten dunked on by Michael Jordan a lot more than I've blocked his shot. That's for sure. Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. And even getting posterized by Michael Jordan is an honor for what a spectacular specimen he was.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
So blocking his shot, yes.
I mean, not many people have done it, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I've done it a few times. But he's done it a lot more.
What about, I wanted to ask you, have you ever thought about doing a little bit of music with Shaq? We're playing together. I feel like is there any other NBA players or centers that went into the world of music?
Not in electronic music, but bands and stuff like this. Yes, there was a player that kind of transitioned into music, more jazz and more a bass player, an actual instrument bass player. I think I respect Shaq in every single way. I feel like we have kind of similar paths in life. Obviously, he's completely different on a whole nother level. And I respect the music that he plays, and I respect the vibe that he creates and the energy that he has into it, but it's not the music that I resonate with, right? So it'll be hard to play a back-to-back with Shaq when I can't follow him.
Of course.
You know what I mean? I can't follow him. I don't know.
I was just curious to see what you thought.
People, when I play the music, people are going to go to sleep. And when Shaq puts on a song, everybody's going to be jumping up. And then I'm going to put a song and everybody's asleep again.
Yeah, 100%. That's funny, though. I just thought that was pretty cool how he's gotten into music and
he's
done a shit ton of different things. And now his son's doing music as well. So pretty dope.
Yeah.
But how have...
but again, I'll tell you, everybody can make music and everybody can do music. Yeah. It's not that difficult. You can teach a monkey how to mix 2 CD players, and you can... But at the end of the day, it's all about this.
Yeah.
It's all about your ear and the music that you're creating or curating, and the music, the message that what's the music that you're feeling and delivering versus what everybody already knows that song, and it's just kind of a safe bet. So at that point, there's plenty of wedding DJs.
Yeah. 100%. How do you think your sound has evolved though, over the last maybe 5-6 years? Because at least from the first records that I heard from you, which I mentioned earlier, and then some of the stuff that you've done recently is Mariposa was the most recent, right? That was like this month.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, Sugar Free Radio, right? The 200 you've uploaded now. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Over 10 years, no?
Yeah.
That's amazing. See, people don't see the 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I started more, maybe a little, maybe
12,
a
I
little,
think.
12 years.
Yeah.
12 years. I started a show on Sirius XM called Sugar Free Radio when there was no such thing as deep house. Everything was EDM
Yeah.
or nothing. And again, I carved out a niche for myself in that world. It was so popular back then that they had it on the Chill channel as well. It was on BPM and the Chill channel. So it was airing twice a week for 12 years. In order to do a mix, it takes me a few hours to get the music together and to mix it properly and do all these things. And there was not enough music that's being produced for me to keep the consistency and the level of that music on that same level. So I was frustrated because I couldn't find enough music, and I just didn't want to repeat any. Like if I played an episode this week, the last thing I'm going to do is use a couple of songs from this on the next one.
Of course.
Like it was all new songs, but I can't find that many good new songs coming up. So I started wanting to take a breather from it.
Yeah, because I just asked because, I mean, I don't want to characterize your own music, but like listening to some of those older songs that I first heard from you, like I've definitely noticed, you know, elements added to it and evolved, which I think is super cool.
It's
at least from the, because I don't produce music or anything, but from like that standpoint of when you're sitting there, you know, putting together that sound and that song, you know.
For me, when I make music, it took me about 5 years in order to be able to translate what's in my head and what I'm feeling onto the DAW, right? And onto Ableton or whatever you. And I always felt like when I was making the music, okay, it's fine, and you know, I like it, but I won't play it myself, right? So it's very different when you're making music that you feel. It's very hard to get it on any label because different labels have a certain sound that they're looking for, and you got to be able to make music to fit that label. So if you want to send the music to that label, it's got to be within that kind of restraint and box, right? So I every time I send my music to the labels, they say, it's pretty good, but I can't. I mean, it doesn't fit in our catalog. And anyway, if a DJ plays it, they don't know how to, you know, follow it up with what, right? So this is the problem where I got cornered in, but I stuck to it. And this is why within my genre, within my own personal genre, I get bored of music. So I try to evolve within my style. I try to do things differently. And sometimes they work out good. Sometimes they don't work out. But at least I try to get creative within my own world. And this is why I started a label, because I knew I could release it on my own label and didn't have to wait for somebody to pick it up. So I would stay true to myself in the sense that whether it makes or it doesn't make it, I don't care. At least I put it out as my fingerprints are all over this. And that's why I started the label.
Stride, right? Stride.
Yeah, Stride. So I started the label to be able to put out some of my music and to also allow other artists who are in this same kind of world where they're trying to find a niche for themselves within the business, but they don't fit with the constraints of other labels, and send it to me. I feel you. I'll get it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think the name also matches kind of like that. How'd you come up with Stride though for the name of the label?
It's just exactly taking everything in stride,
Right.
the long stride,
Yeah.
keep going,
Yeah.
perseverance, consistency. That's what
the
it's all
mantra.
about.
That's amazing. And I mean, of course, you've been having some releases recently. Any other big projects maybe coming into, for the remainder of the year? I mean, it's going to be a pretty packed summer for you with some of the gigs you have. Any sneak peeks on anything maybe you want to leave some of the viewers with?
I'm going to be releasing a few more songs this summer.
Would you ever open up a nightclub, actually?
I've had many nightclubs.
Outside of homes?
Outside of homes.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had the first nightclub in South Beach.
No
I
way.
had the second nightclub in South. So let me take you through that history. I opened up with my partners the first club in South Beach. It used to be called Bar None. That was the only place where people would go and actually kind of loud music and then from Bar None, our group started a club called Mint.
Mint?
Yes. We started Mint. We built Mint. We built Mint on 16th and Collins, right? When nothing was happening in that area. So we took a big gamble to be on 16th. So now we became a destination point because everything else was on 5th and 6th and 7th Street and Washington. And we decided to go 16th and Collins or whatever. And people were like, you're crazy. It's not going to work. We opened Mint.
Roll the dice.
Roll the dice. And we opened it, I want to say 2 weeks or 3 weeks after 9/11. And we're like, oh, shit. How, anyway, so we went from Mint. Then we opened and we sold Mint 6-7 years later and opened. We actually sold Mint to our most trusted bartender who was a hard worker and whatever. He ended, Roman ended up buying it, ran it for a while. And then we went and opened Mokai.
Oh, okay.
Remember Mokai? Okay, so we also built Mokai and had that for a few years, and that was a lot of fun. And then from Mokai, we started Wall.
At the W?
At the W.
Oh, wow. So I didn't know any of this. This is pretty sick.
Yeah. So
we've had our fair share of nights at all of these places.
Yeah. So I've been in this for a long time, and I've been, people don't know that, I and my partners owned the first kind of nightclub-ish in South Beach. Back then, it was me, Sylvester Stallone, the owner of Ocean Drive, Nicola Ciervo. It was a bunch of us that got together and said, we need to open a club, and we did that. And then at Mint, Mint was, I don't know if you remember, upstairs was house music, downstairs was hip-hop.
Oh, I never got to see the upstairs.
At Mint.
Yeah.
Have you been to Mint?
Oh, yeah, I've been to Mint many times, but...
Well, the upstairs is the main level. So when you walk into Mint, that's upstairs, right?
Okay.
And then you walk to the back and you go down the steps and there's a downstairs.
How long is it? It's not split anymore though, upstairs,
I
downstairs.
haven't been there in years, but
Oh,
it is still split. Like, unless they turn the downstairs into...
No, there's no more downstairs. And we're talking about the same Mint 100,000%. There's no other Mint in Miami.
Well, I'm going to tell you the exact story because we used to hang upstairs because that's where they played house music.
Yeah.
And then when you kind of walk where the bathrooms are, you go downstairs, right?
That's the downstairs. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Downstairs, like you walk down.
Yeah, in the back.
In the back. And that used to be the hip hop room.
Okay.
Right?
They don't use it. It's just bathrooms now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's... Yeah, so back then, a lot of people were no longer into the house music, and everybody wanted to be in the hip hop room. So that hip hop room was like the busy room, and that's when open format came in. And then sometimes we would go open format upstairs. So I saw the music revolution as well, like from
Yeah.
where it's gone over the decades. And
I mean, Miami at the time, what was that like? 2000s. Miami was like, that was gold. That was Miami Vice, no? Or is was that before?
I think
Yeah, Miami Vice is way before, no?
no, I was here in the 80s.
At least my parents came here to Miami, late 90s, and they said Miami then was just like, Miami was different. I mean, we didn't have any of this in this area or anywhere, but
there was nothing.
There was nothing.
I built a house in Miami Beach. Everybody used to like our practice facility for the Miami Heat was in Coral Gables. We used to practice at the University of Miami, and players would actually live in Pinecrest, Coconut Grove, Kendall, Coral Gables. That's where people lived, and I wanted something with a little more land and a little more space. I wanted a basketball court. I wanted a tennis court. I wanted to be on the water. I wanted all these different things. So the broker tells me, listen, I think it's better for you to go to Miami Beach because you'll find all of that for very cheap. And that's exactly what I did. So I went to Star Island, and I bought 2.5 acres of land, built a house on Star Island, and there was nothing. There was one restaurant called Scratch.
Hope that broker, man.
Huh?
The guy who told you to go to Miami Beach. I mean, talk about a diamond in a haystack.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been a better. Or did you select Star Island on your own?
I didn't. It's like somebody coming to you and telling you like you should live in Homestead.
Yeah.
Right? Because all your friends are in Miami Beach or downtown Miami or whatever it is. This is kind of out there. So it was all dilapidated, old homes, old folks, crack dens. There's not, once in a while you'll see a bicycle crossing somewhere, but it was pretty much desolate. Like there was nothing going on. It would take me a minute to get from 5th Street to 30th on Alton, which would take 2 hours now.
That was like handing someone a winning lottery ticket, telling someone to buy property in Star Island at that time.
Well, but nobody told me the lottery ticket. If somebody told you, wait, hold on, don't sell it.
Oh,
because you're gonna sell for a lot more money if you just wait.
Yeah,
that's the lottery ticket.
Yeah.
And nobody told me that one.
Yeah.
So what happened is I ended up selling it. I built the house, sold it. I made a great return, and figured, let me take that check because it was the highest. It was the highest. Yes, it was the highest paid property in Miami-Dade County and the beaches, I think, at the time. I sold it for $7 million. Took the check and ran, right? The house just flipped 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. The same exact house I built on the same exact lot.
45.
120. So that's the lottery ticket that nobody told me about. Yeah.
Wow, 120. That's insane.
Yeah. So the house belonged to Vlad, the guy that owns the Amman Resorts, Vlad Doran. He owns the Amman. He ended up with that house, and 120 million. I built that house.
Fuck.
Yeah. And
Do those sting?
Somebody just told me, listen, go to sleep. Wake up in 20 years, and that's what's going to happen.
I feel like everyone, though, who bought property, because, I mean, I've heard other stories as well. Like, a lot of people who bought land property in Miami 20, 25 years ago. Very few held it all the way till now or stayed in it. Especially it's prime time real estate like that.
It's very hard. It's very hard. First, when you get older, the last thing you want to do is carry a house that big. You know, you just kind of downsize. The kids are out. Everybody's gone. You're living in this big house by yourself, and the price is at a point where you can't just, it doesn't make sense. But I've gone through this cycle on 3 different occasions of, should I sell? Should I not sell? Should I sell? Should I not sell? And then the market takes a 10, 20%, 30% downward turn, and then it comes back. But now it's, you know, Miami was within kind of this movement, right?
Yeah.
You know, just a little, it stays steady for a while, and then you go up a little bit, stays steady for a while, and then it goes up a little bit, stays. It wasn't like this.
Now it hit like the parabolic.
It's a parabolic.
Boom.
Yeah, it was insane. After COVID, what happened after COVID was a parabolic move that was insane.
Insane.
Yeah. So, and that's the secret that nobody told anybody. During COVID, when everybody was chilling, somebody should have come to you or come to us or come to somebody and say, listen, buy everything. Mortgage everything and buy everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Miami's, it's changed a lot. And do you think, when did you first decide to get into real estate and make your first investment after playing in the NBA?
That house on Star Island.
That was the first purchase.
Mhm.
Fucking A.
Well, I mean, that was the first
Investment, yeah.
investment that I took on my own. I've done other real estate investments with others, but that's the first one that I did on my own.
Did you have any guidance though with making that decision at the time?
No guidance.
Just naturally savvy with business.
It's a matter of, you know, I had to learn everything on my own. Some people learn everything on their own. Some people get amazing people to teach them how to do things. And I was just a natural learner myself.
It's a very common theme. A lot of times we see nowadays, you know, athletes sign that big contract, make a ton of money, and then their financial administration is not the best. Personal, you know, with content creators as well, and everyone. It's just like you see a big jump so quickly that first thing usually on their mind is not to buy real estate or buy a house or something like that.
It's to buy a nice watch and jewelry and keep the show going.
Yeah.
I think that money is all relative. Whether you make $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, whatever that number is, your lifestyle grows by that 1 or 2 zeros. So if you're making $1 million, if you've got $1 million, you're looking at a house that's $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 and say, this is what I can afford, and this is what. When you have 100 million, you're looking for a $50 million house, and if you and back then there was no $50 million house, so you'll buy 5 different houses for $10 million, one for your friend, one for your cousin, one for the other person, one in Detroit and one in whatever, right, or in Europe or whatever. So money is relative. The more money you make, the more money you end up spending, unless you're a savvy investor and you understand that this faucet turns off in 10 years and you got to figure it out. It's very easy when checks are coming in mail, but when that check doesn't come, how are you going to pay your bills?
Yeah. Interesting to think about for sure. Because I'm thinking about getting into real estate at some point, you know, buying first property or something at some point. But from what I've heard, Miami market is
it's very frothy.
Not the time.
It's not the
Is there
time
ever
yet.
a right time? Like
Yes,
how often
there is.
how often do you come around the right moment? Like, can you time it? You know,
You can't. You got to be prepared for it. You can't
right.
time it.
You gotta
right?
have the gunpowder for it.
You have to sit there and be patient. Don't try to sprint. Sit there and be patient.
Yeah.
Do your homework. Figure out where and what area and stuff like this. And one hurricane, one catastrophe, inflation, stagflation, anything can turn the market into a buyer's market. So there's no such thing as, oh, it's too late, or no, there's always opportunities. You just have to sit there and wait.
You got to be ready.
Got to be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be there, ready. And if you have liquidity at the time, then you'll make it.
What do you think about what's going on in Ibiza with real estate? I feel like so many people are buying apartments there. At least I was talking to Seth about it a little bit. More people are buying up spots there. Do you have a place there, or do you?
I rent.
You rent.
I rent. I listen. I rent in Ibiza. I've been renting for a few years. I just find it much easier to leave and not have to worry about maintenance and everything else it has to do. So for me, it's easier. If I decide that I want to spend a lot more time in Europe or in Ibiza, and I want to kind of find my way out of here or wherever, I could consider it. But just now to buy a house for the 2 months that I spend there, no.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's where you're going to be now for the
2 months.
You're just going to be in Ibiza?
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, we'll be there all of September.
Awesome.
So we'll definitely cross paths at some point.
Let's see what you learned with Seth. Let's see if he was a good teacher.
Oh, he was great. He was great. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Rony. It was great having you.
Thank you.
Do you want to maybe give one viewer who's made it this far into the episode, maybe like a guest list at one of the shows in Ibiza?
In Ibiza, if they make it to Ibiza,
There definitely will be someone watching, I think.
Listen, anybody that makes it through this episode,
what should they comment?
What's that?
They comment something and you pick one of them.
Well, how do we know that they're not watching the end?
I guess we'll just have to trust.
Okay, we'll have to ask 2 questions or 3 questions. Tell us about the first, middle, and the last of one of the questions that you had asked me.
Okay.
And if they've been able to answer one of them or 2 of them, whatever, no problem. Either here at Space, I guess
Wherever
you'll
pick.
Wherever they want to go.
Where are you? When are you playing Space again? Until
September.
after summer? Oh, okay.
September, probably November. So I do Space a lot more than, and it's easier for people.
It's a special club.
But it doesn't matter. Wherever it is, if you figure out a formula where somebody is not going to cheat and deserves it, we'll do it.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much for coming on, Rony.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.
All right.
Awesome.